Hi everyone. Today I'm summarizing The Ghostwriter by Alessandra Torre, gripping psychological drama. This isn't a full review, just my take, and it includes major spoilers. If you're interested in the book, the purchase link is in the description. Helena Ross lives alone and is dying of brain cancer. The only person she is in contact with is her agent Kate, and they are not really close. When she is informed that she only has 3 months left to live, she decides to write a novel during her remaining days. This novel will tell her life story and reveal the truth she has hidden ever since her husband died. While writing, she realizes her pace is too slow and she is too weak. She may not finish the novel, so she makes up her mind to hire a ghostwriter. She coordinates with Kate, and the ghostwriter she wants is Marka, her ultimate competitor. Marka sends her criticizing emails regularly. Aside from the emails she receives from Marka, she also hates that Marka seems to be living the perfect life. But no matter how much she hates her, she knows Marka would be the best ghostwriter for the novel she plans to write. When Kate and Helena contact Marka and ask her to meet them, a man shows up at Helena's doorstep. It turns out that Marka is a man named Mark. She is stunned and doesn't trust him at first, but eventually makes him a generous offer, and he agrees. Helena thinks their way of communication will be through email, but Mark plans on staying at her home to write. They became friends during their writing journey, although not the typical kind. Mark was constantly concerned, while Helena was stubborn and focused entirely on finishing the novel. During the process, Mark's cow gave birth, and he had to go home, bringing Helena with him. That was also when Helena found out that Mark's wife had died of cancer. She also discovered that the reason Mark hated her was because she had once written a letter to his editor criticizing his work, and shortly after Mark celebrated with his family, the editor decided not to publish his book. Helena wrote outlines so Mark could turn them into the novel, but when they reached the part about her husband's death, she found it difficult to write an outline. She felt she couldn't bring herself to confess it. She thought she couldn't do it, but Mark advised her to write that part herself because no one could write it better than she could, and it might help her find closure. Here's what happened. Helena and her husband, Simon, were happy before marriage, or at least in the early days before they had a daughter. Helena was against having a child, but Simon convinced her, and they had a daughter named Brittany. At first, she didn't like her, feeling that the child was a distraction from her writing, but she eventually learned to love her. Still, there were times she failed as a mother, like locking herself in her office to write and ignoring Brittany's cries. Because of her carelessness, Helena's mother and Simon eventually agreed she needed medical attention. Helena tried to prove that she was fine and that nothing was wrong with her. There were frequent fights between Helena and Simon about how they were raising Brittany. Some of them also stemmed from Simon's extravagant spending. Helena always spoke the blunt truth, while Simon tended to sugarcoat his answers. Helena disapproved of his approach because she didn't want their daughter to grow up naive. The end of their marriage was when Simon died, when Helena killed him. Helena found the tapes hidden in the media room labeled as old football games. When she played some of the recordings, it turned out to be a video of Simon having sex with a kid. Helena was disgusted and felt she had to do the right thing. She gathered as many tapes as she could to turn over to the police. While she was packing the recordings, her mother arrived. Helena decided to let Brittany go with her, so she could focus on handing over the tapes properly. That way, Brittany would be safer. When Brittany was gone, Helena lingered in the media room and tried to access Simon's computer, but while she was doing that, Simon arrived. He walked into the room and saw what she was up to. He decided to lock Helena in the basement. She was terrified of what he might do, but before he could act, she remembered a novel she had written where a teenage girl tried to kill her mother by pumping nitrogen, or some kind of chemical she couldn't remember exactly. That's what she did. She filled the house with the chemical enough to kill Simon. After that, she searched for a way out of the basement and eventually found a spare key in one of the drawers where they kept all the keys. She escaped and rushed to her mother's house to get Brittany. When she got there, no one was home, so she waited outside. When her mother finally arrived, Brittany wasn't with her. Her mother explained that Brittany didn't have a matching pair of shoes, so she dropped by the house to get one. Simon was home and told her it was fine to leave Brittany with him, so she did. Helena ran home, panicked about what might have happened. But it was too late when she arrived. Both her husband and daughter were dead. When they finished the novel, Helena took a pill, assisted death, and passed away painlessly. Before she died, she left several letters to the people she had known. All of her money was to go to the women Simon had victimized. She began with a journalist she had always shut down because the journalist kept asking questions about Simon. Helena later saw her name in the tapes and realized she had been one of the victims, so she gave her 100 a copy of the manuscript and the task of finding the other victims. That's it for the Ghostwriter. Thanks for watching. Grab the book via the link in my bio, subscribe for more, and check out my other summaries. See you next time.